Hey guys, finally he sleeps here. Today we're going to take a look at my speed build for stage 25 of Sand Devil. This is a pretty niche team. There are a couple of champions that you can swap out. They're not necessarily set in stone, but for me this is what's working best for stage 25. Now, these are quick runs. It basically boils down to your go before the Sand Devil so that you kind of catch him off guard. He never takes a turn because that first blast from him usually wipes out the whole squad. So you have to kind of set this up so that you can get all of your turns in before he goes a second time, as long as you're able to put him asleep the first time. And the runs are somewhere between 16 and 20 seconds. As you can see there, with 10 turns, it depends on how strong the hits are. Does the crit damage, are all of the debuffs landing? What kind of blessings does the smite hit if we need it? But we're going to take a look at the team and the build and kind of show exactly what goes into this. Here is the setup. I have Adeline going first. She was a free champion. It was a login champion from a couple of months back. Her speed on this needs to be above 271 because she has to be faster than the Sand Devil. I have her crit rate and crit damage high because I'm trying to get as much damage out of this, because we need to take the Sand Devil out in those 10 turns that we have one run through with everybody. On that last turn of Gnut, that has to take him out. So I'm getting as much damage out of all of these champions as I possibly can. So I have crit rate and crit damage high on Adeline, but if you see, the accuracy is well above 500. That's because with this opening Writ of Sleep, you need the sleep to land to put the Sand Devil to sleep so that your next turn, and here I have Riho, her first, she's going to go with priority to make sure we get decreased defense and weaken on. Now, this is also a hit, and he's taking damage. The Sand Devil is taking damage from this, plus we have the HP burn that lands, and this will help if for some reason it goes down to the last turn and we get the Sand Devil coming back to hit us because it didn't quite, all of the debuffs didn't land, or for whatever reason. Riho is the best choice here. You can use another drop defense weakened champion, but you're going to have to make up the damage that you would be missing because of no HP burn and the hit here coming from Riho. So there's options. It just comes down to what kind of a build you have on your damage dealers. So once Adeline goes and puts him to sleep, Riho goes and drops defense and weakens. Up next is ColdHeart, and we're using Heartseeker, which is her enemy max HP A3, which is usually a pretty big hit if you have her crit rate and crit damage high. That is the only priority there for one time, because remember, we're only going through this 2 turns, so that's the only skill move that ColdHeart is going to use. You don't need accuracy, you basically just need at least 75 crit rate and as high crit damage as you can, and then the rest of the hit is based on attack for ColdHeart. Up next is Gnut, defense-based champion, so your defenses needs to be incredibly high. You want a crit rate over 100 and crit damage as high as you possibly can. And it, again, just like ColdHeart, it's just that heavy max HP enemy hit. Blessed Bash is what we're going to use here. The champion that we're getting the most out of this is Gnut. There are other options. There are some other big nukers and heavy hitters in the game besides ColdHeart and Gnut. If you don't have Gnut, you can get away with 2 ColdHearts, but the hits that those ColdHearts have to make are big. They need to be very big to get this through before the Sand Devil gets to go again. And then up last is Prince Kymar, and the only thing we're using here is Seal of Magic. He will only go 1 turn if all goes as planned. It's the first time around, and what this does is it resets the ally skills for both ColdHeart and Gnut, so when they come around the second time, they can use that big enemy max HP hit. You cannot substitute somebody in like Renegade here, because Renegade just takes turns off the cooldown, but these are 4-turn enemy max HP hits. So if you just take 2 turns off, they're still not going to get to use them that second run through. Sand Devil will go and wipe your whole team out. So Prince Kaimar's kind of a push here. You have to have him. The only other thing you could do to get away with using somebody like Renegade is you would need 2 Renegades so that one would go after the other and completely cool down the skill, but then you would lose a damage dealer and have to go with one damage dealer for this. That's a lot of hits, but there are options and stuff that you can shift around. It doesn't have to be this exact setup as long as you have players that can kind of come in and kind of handle this. Speed wise, you need above 271 for Adeline to go first. She needs to go before the Sand Devil goes, and then they can slow down from there. I have 227 for Prince Kaimar. As long as everybody gets their runs through before the Sand Devil takes that big hit, you're fine. Let's take a look at the actual champs and the setup that we have on them. So all of these champions are fully booked. I believe they're fully booked. Yeah, fully booked, fully booked, fully booked, fully booked, and fully booked. It's not necessary to have them fully booked other than the additional damage that it brings. The cooldown, if you're using Prince Kaimar, it doesn't matter if that big hit is 4 turns or 6 turns. It doesn't really matter because it's going to get cooled down after that initial go. But this, for this team, is all about damage, and as quick as you can possibly get it through that 10 turn count. It all comes down to, are they hitting hard enough? Masteries wise, it's just your basic masteries with as far as nukers go for ColdHeart and Gnut to make sure that they are damaging as much as they possibly can. The one big thing that I want to mention here is if there is a 97% chance that this runs through and it works properly, there is a 3% chance that Adeline will not hit with that and her Writ of Sleep, that the sleep buff or debuff will miss. Even though she's got over 500 accuracy, there's always a 3% chance that it won't land. If it doesn't land, this will not run. You will get wiped out immediately. Now, if for some reason, let's say the hits that Gnut comes through, they're not quite up to par, or your numbers are really close as far as like your defense and your attack and crit rate and crit damage, if you're just not quite there, I also put Soul Reap on Gnut. That way, if he, on that last hit, if it's close, it's enough to just take it over the edge. And I have Smite on these top 2 champions as well, Brimstone. That way, if Brimstone lands on one of those 2, and we don't get the Soul Reap out of Gnut, even if the Sand Devil wipes your whole team out, as long as one of those Brimstones landed, then it will take the Sand Devil out and you'll get credit for the victory. As for ColdHeart, Phantom Touch, it's a rare. It's about all you can do with it. And your blessing doesn't really matter for Prince Kaimar because he's never attacking in the way this runs. You never really get a hit out of him. As far as gear goes, doesn't matter for Prince Kaimar. You don't even have to have any gear on him. He just has to have the speed that he needs. For the main 2, it's all about accuracy because they're both landing debuffs, whether it be crit rate or not crit rate, whether it be weaken and decrease defense, or the HP burn here for Riho Bone Spear, or the sleep that you get out of Adeline. It's all about accuracy. So I have both of their accuracies above 500. Now, as far as Gnut and ColdHeart go, if you see them, it's just Gnut has heavy defense because that's what his damage is based off of, and ColdHeart has heavy attack because that's what her hit is based off of. Everything else here, as far as crit damage goes, I've been ascending all of this gear to get the numbers to push them as far as they can. This is, I mean, if you look at this, these are some heavy champions to be able to get this through as fast as it is, under 20 seconds. All right, let's try it one more time. And now that you know how it's working, we'll slow it down and just kind of see where it's at Writ of Sleep puts him to sleep. There goes all of our debuffs. Now we've got ColdHeart and Gnut with the big hits. We'll get the reset out of Prince Kymar. It runs through again with just a little bit more damage out of those two. ColdHeart with her big hit, and then Gnut to finish it off in real time, 19-second run. Fastest it's been is 16. Generally, it's usually between about 18 and 21, and it all just comes down to that little bit of a push on how many of those debuffs are landing and how quick it is. Hope that information helped. If it did, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. Turn on notifications so you never miss when a video goes live. And finally, he sleeps. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. As long as you keep showing up, I'll keep making videos. While you're at it, check out my other 3 channels here on YouTube. FC Mobile, Gearheads for all things cars, and then if you're interested in a few laughs, the Cringeworthy channel, which is probably the best stuff I've ever done for YouTube.